Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel, Atma Occult,
where we compile useful information from classical occult traditions to help you get more out of life.
So today we are going to give some interesting facts and tips for Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius. And this can be for anyone who has a lot of that Aquarius energy. Maybe your moon, your sun, your ascendant, or you have a cluster of planets in Aquarius.
It can also apply to anyone who is going through the major time period or Dasha of a planet sitting in Aquarius. Or if you're using Vedic Astrology and you're going through an Aquarius Dasha.
Yes, and maybe there's just an Aquarius in your life and you'd like to better understand them. This can be really helpful for that as well. Before we get into it, please subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it.
It really helps us out.
It really helps us out. And hit the bell so you never ever miss a video from us. So as an overview, Aquarius is an air sign. It is a fixed sign, a masculine sign. It represents the original 11th house in the primordial zodiac sign, birth chart. And so what that means, no matter where your Aquarius is placed in your chart, it will always carry some of the 11th house significations, because the original birth chart is always kind of at play in everybody's life. It is a kumbha house.
And so kumbha in this context means desire or fulfillment of desires. Some of the other signs that we've talked about were dharma houses, meaning they're related to morality, duty, ethics, your moral code, or artha houses, meaning they're related to your material prosperity and success, your tangible goods. Kumbha is related to the fulfillment of desires, your pleasures, your experiences in life, what you want to do, your fun, all those things.
And back to it being the original 11th house, the 11th house, one of the significations there is gains and
the fulfillment of desires.
Yep. So again, I always like to say
multiple layers are pointing to the same thing already.
No such thing as coincidences when it comes to astrology. So Aquarius is also ruled by the planet Saturn. So Saturn is going to play a large influence in an Aquarius's life. It is symbolized, you've probably seen this, by a water pot that is filled with water,
which is referred to in Sanskrit as kumbha.
Kumbha.
So the Sanskrit word for Aquarius is kumbha.
So Aquarius. So these people tend to be visionaries and very innovative thinkers. They are forward-thinking individuals, and they often are kind of ahead of their time. So they kind of might seem a little bit strange. They could potentially come off a little bit strange or eccentric or different. They have a futuristic mindset, and they're interested in all sorts of reforms, new ideas, and technical and technological advancements. They have a very unique way of thinking and living. They often embrace the unconventional path.
And one of the reasons for this is that just like Scorpio is co-ruled by Mars and Ketu, well, this is the other sign of the zodiac, for the most part, that is considered to be co-ruled by another planet. So Aquarius is ruled primarily by Saturn, but it's co-ruled by the planet Rahu, which signifies everything that is like unorthodox, outlandish, outside of the box, eccentric, different, and also technology itself. Yeah. Like, phones and computers and internet. So that futurism can come from that influence of Rahu.
Yeah, so just like with Scorpio kind of having mostly a Mars influence, there is that K2 influence that kind of makes a Scorpio unique. This is the same thing. So Ketu and Rahu as shadow planets, they don't actually rule a sign like the rest of the planets, but they have a little bit of co-rulership. So Rahu is going to have some influence on an Aquarius. So Aquarius people are very humanitarian in nature. They're socially conscious. I think you can relate that probably to the 11th house again.
Yeah, because the 11th house in the original zodiac, it represents large organizations or like non-profit organizations. You can find Aquarius people working in non-profit organizations. You can find them working to serve like a cause through some big, organization that has a lot of people serving in it, because Saturn is service, and then Rahu kind of represents that unorthodox idealism of trying to accomplish something or make some change in the world.
Yes, so typically Aquarius people deeply care about society, the welfare of humanity. They're involved in social causes. They like to work for equality. And that's because the Saturn influence on Aquarius, Saturn itself is intellectual and in a humanitarian way. Which is, so Saturn also rules the sign of Capricorn, which you can refer to our Capricorn video. Yeah. But both Capricorn and Aquarius are ruled by Saturn, but the Capricorn nature is a little bit more of that earth conservative side of Saturn, and Aquarius is a little bit more of the humanitarian side.
Yeah, because Capricorn is pure Saturn, and Aquarius has this exotic influence of Rahu. So rather than it being Saturn, being super traditional and rule-oriented, and that can also come because Capricorn is symbolized by the crocodile, so it's cold-blooded and it's kind of ruthless in its approach towards life.
And isn't Saturn kind of a rebel as well in some of the ancient texts?
Saturn represents, any revolution that has ever happened, especially against a kingdom, is always signified by Saturn. And it can be signified by Rahu to some degree as well, but it's really... Saturn hates kings and kingdoms. Saturn hates the sun, that's why.
Which the sun is the king.
You can see when people have the influence of the sun in their life, they'll kind of more always side with like royalty and aristocracy and things that are related to kings and kingdoms. And they don't like rebellion. Whereas when people have Saturn influence in their life, especially when it's through Aquarius, because it has that addition of Rahu, these people are the opposite. They like rebellions and revolutions and things like that, because Saturn is also an egalitarian. So Saturn, again, a lot of these revolutions that have happened in history were to accomplish some sort of end that was towards communism, like the Bolshevik Revolution. And so that's very Saturnian. They want everyone to be equal, no matter what, even if you have to use force. And so Saturn represents that energy, and that can definitely manifest through the sign of Aquarius. Yeah.
And the symbol of Aquarius, like we mentioned, is a person pouring water from a pot, or kumbha. And this kind of the symbology represents bringing knowledge, wisdom, and nourishment to humanity. And this is why they have these humanitarian instincts, altruism. They want to benefit society.
And one of the other ways that you can see this expressing itself, if you read any of the ancient stories, the ancient Vedic Puranic stories, the incarnation of Vishnu, which is related to Rahu, is the Varaha incarnation, which is a boar, a pig. And that also can connect to Rahu being symbolizing pigs, but that's another note. But in this story, basically, this Varaha incarnation, this boar incarnation, takes birth in order to save the earth, which has been degraded and the Earth in this story has been overexploited by a particular demon who accumulated way too much power. And so the Varaha incarnation had to come and save the Earth from the exploitation of this demon. And so when the influence of Rahu, which can come through the sign of Aquarius, is manifesting in a person's life, they will naturally want to save the Earth. They naturally are like environmentalists. Environmentalism, especially through some large organization that they can serve, where they can serve some purpose, serve some cause, fight for a cause, especially if it has to do with, like, you know, getting plastic out of the ocean or stopping pollution. Aquarius is definitely going to kind of vibe with that energy.
So touching on the air sign quality of Aquarius, they're naturally intelligent, logical, and have strong analytical skills. They can be very communicative, which, you know, helps in them trying to be kind of those social justice, fighting for a cause type people. Vayu, which means air in Sanskrit, represents the mind, movement, ideas, which gives the Aquarius people that logical thinking, the curiosity, and maybe the love for, like, the more abstract concepts. Again, with Aquarius, you're going to get more of the abstract than the orthodox of manifestation of Saturn.
Yeah.
But Saturn still, of course, is known as the planet of karma, discipline, and patience, and hard-earned wisdom. So that's where, again, that's still going to be very influential to an Aquarius because its ruler is Saturn.
Yeah.
So with Saturn being, we talked about this in the Capricorn video, like a cold, distant, slow-moving planet. This also can, for an Aquarius person, result in some emotional detachment, maybe someone who's aloof, stubborn. We covered those traits with Capricorn. Saturn likes to teach through hardship. It's the planet of karma. So you will learn lessons typically through something that hard that has happened. And this can also make an Aquarius person seem rigid, overly serious, and sometimes isolated emotionally. That's very similar to their Capricorn counterparts.
Yeah. I think that maybe the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius in this sense is that, you know, with Capricorn, that's happening in a very kind of practical and pragmatic way. They're kind of absorbed in their work, and that's where the detachment can come from. With Aquarius, because of that intellectualism and philosophy, she said the word aloof, and I think that's really good, a really good description. They can be detached because they're absorbed in their thoughts.
Yeah. So, of course, having idealistic and unorthodox thinking patterns can lead to really, really strong innovative ideas, and, you know, that's where probably some of the best innovations came from, was some of these Aquarius tendencies or natures in you know, creators and inventors. But that Rahu influence, as we mentioned, is going to push for a little bit of unorthodox nature, nonconformist, rebellious, and again, these things can always be used in a really good way. Some of these movements have changed the world for the better when you have a group of people who have really good intentions to represent humanity or the world, and you fight for those. So this strong desire for an Aquarius to be very different and, you know, nonconformist, it might lead them to rebel, sometimes unnecessarily. They might just reject the tradition, even if the tradition actually serves a purpose, but they might just do it because they just want to. They just want to feel, they are rebellious, they want to feel rebellious, they want to reject the norm, but sometimes they can do that where it doesn't serve a purpose to be rebellious. So it's important to not get lost in these grand ideals and visionary thinking. when you ignore the practical realities and the personal needs. With Rahu's influence on Aquarius, Rahu also brings illusion, or the word is Maya in Sanskrit. Things that are not really there, but Rahu makes you think they're there.
Yeah.
Discontent and extreme idealism. So these are things that Rahu brings to an Aquarius person. So where idealism is great, you just got to be aware of that potential illusion that might be there.
Yeah.
And again, that's just kind of making sure that whatever you're rebelling for is a legitimate reason, and it's not just because it's disillusioned, or you again just feel rebellious.
Yeah. And then that there's practical actions that you can take to do something about that, to do something to help and serve that cause.
Yes, and so it's really important as an Aquarius just to understand the deeper meaning of any sort of tradition before you just discard it and say, that's traditional, I'm not interested. By no means do you ever have to conform, but just truly understand something before you discard it.
So with Aquarius being an air sign, one thing that can really help and can really help stabilize your mind and calm it down a little bit, especially if you're getting into so many lofty thoughts and ideas, is pranayama, which is breath control. Prana means the life breath that you take in when you breathe. And yama means restriction, which is another signification of Saturn, which rules the sign of Aquarius. So pranayama is restriction of breath. There's so many different kinds of pranayama. But if you just Google pranayamas, maybe we'll make a video about pranayama sometime. There are different kinds of pranayama that you can do. And if you spend some time, maybe even just 10 minutes, doing pranayama meditation, that can really help you balance that air element in your consciousness and really get the best results out of the sign of Aquarius.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier how Aquarius is a fixed sign, and also Saturn is kind of a very fixed, rigid planet. So that means that Aquariuses can be very rigid in their beliefs. Stubborn, resistant to change. They might refuse other people's perspectives. If you practice being open to different philosophies, again, it's what we said before you just discard an idea or a tradition, first just be open to learn about it and then make a decision for yourself.
And your natural talents are conducive to understanding everything before you discard it, because you're being so intellectual and so thought oriented,
so innovative.
One of the things that is recommended for Aquarius is Aquarius, out of a lot of the signs, can be really good at the path of jnana yoga. So a lot of people don't realize that when we refer to yoga as just like the physical yoga that you do when you go to a yoga studio, that's one yogic path. Yoga just means achieving union with the source of your existence, or achieving union with whatever your objective is.
Yeah, that might not be something a lot of people, because this is something that was really shocking to me. When you think of the word yoga, pretty much everyone thinks of one thing. It's that workout,
downward dog.
Yeah, that downward dog, or whatever. And where it's like a workout, and it is.
Yeah,
that is.
It can be. That's one form of yoga.
One form, but there's so many other forms of yoga. So.
And one of those forms is jnana yoga. Jnana means knowledge, particularly cultivating knowledge for the purpose of self-inquiry, or understanding the deepest truths about oneself or about the nature of reality. And so the path of jnana yoga often involves reading everything, studying everything, absorbing as much information as you possibly can, and you're going to naturally have the ability to do that as an Aquarius, and that can help you put that intellectual prowess to good use.
Yes.
So one final thing that we can talk about with Aquarius is a lot of astrologers have noticed that people with Aquarius sign can benefit a lot from import-export businesses, and one of the reasons for that is that the first house is ruled by Saturn, being Aquarius, and the 12th house of foreign lands is also ruled by Saturn, the sign of Capricorn. And so the 12th house represents foreign lands. And so that can signify gaining through foreign lands because your Lagna Lord is in a good position there. The other thing that can represent gaining through import-export businesses is the fact that your second house, which is the house of wealth, accumulated wealth, and the wealth that you bring into your life, that is the sign of Pisces, which naturally in the original Kalapurush Kundali represents foreign lands as well. So you can definitely gain through things that have to do with foreign lands.
Which is a little bit unorthodox, maybe, to some people.
Because it's going to be a different culture. So
it's different country, maybe. And a lot of people, some people, of course, that is where they do their business, but most people do their business where they live, especially in the country, at least, that they live in. So that kind of plays into that unorthodox nature as well.
Yeah.
We hope that this was informative and helpful for the sign of Aquarius. Don't forget to like, comment. Definitely please subscribe. It really helps us out. But we'd love to hear from you.
And let us know if you're an Aquarius and anything in this video made sense to you, or if you know an Aquarius and you have observations about them. Let us know those observations in the comments below. Let us know if you like what we say or if you didn't like what we say. Let us know.
Okay.
And also don't forget to visit atmaoccult.com where you can find all of our books, consultations, and articles.